Hey folks, Professor Finn here, and today we're going to be looking at purposes and value of the funeral, which is Chapter 3 in Funeral Service Psychology and Counseling by Dr. Ralph Klicker. Let's go ahead and get started. So Todd Van Beck states, funeral director does at least 4 specific things that are available to everyone. Or the funeral does at least 4 specific things that are available to everyone. It provides acting out ceremonies that give expression to feelings too deep to be put into words. The funeral is the most accessible and most adequate resource for this purpose. It is usually the most economical. You might say, well, Mr. Van Beck, funerals are expensive. As a one-time purchase, yes, they are. Absolutely, they are expensive purchases. The problem is, if you were to depreciate that over time, right? You pay $30,000 for a car. How long is that car going to last? It's going to last 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years. Well, now we're looking at, let's just do it even, $3,000 a year, less than $300 a month for most adults, a car payment at about $300 a month to include the car, some insurance, probably around $350, $370 if it's a reasonable car. Most adults working a full-time job, that is one of those expenses they can make happen. Well, you can save for a funeral over 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. If you plan for it, it's surprising how affordable it actually is. It really is. And if you don't want to have the highest level of service, there are additional cost savings that can happen. You put the service together yourself. Some ceremony is better than no ceremony 100% of the time. So in actuality, we understand what funerals are. We understand what funerals are supposed to do for people. And all things considered, instead of years and years and years of therapy cost per hour, this is a bargain. Funerals are generally understood. We know what funerals are supposed to be. We know how they're put on. We know what they mean. When we see a funeral procession, we know what's happened. We generally understand what funerals are. It possesses the resources for meeting the varied social, emotional, and spiritual needs of the bereaved. If they are spiritual, then we're likely going to go to a house of worship or have some level of ritual associated. If there are a large population of people that knew the deceased, then we're probably going to have some type of large facility where everyone can come, and so we can share in that outpouring. We know that when you go to a funeral that the emotions are going to be high. We know that not only do we know that the emotions are going to be high, it's expected that some people are going to be emotional, and that's okay because it's a funeral. So, advantages of a funeral. Each step has its own built-in wisdom for helping people do what is essential for managing death. It provides the framework for group support. It makes it possible for people to get together, visit, communicate, and relate to each other. It provides ways to express love and concern, and it makes people feel comfortable in doing what would otherwise be distressing. You walk into a big box retail store. One of my favorite places to go shopping is Home Goods. I can walk into Target and I can leave with exactly what I came for. If I walk into Home Goods, I'm not leaving that store unless I've spent at least $100. It's ridiculous what the stuff that I purchase at Home Goods. If I'm in Home Goods, which at this point I'm pretty much on a first-name basis with the local clerks, and I burst out and I started crying, people would probably be wondering what is going on. Some might actually dial 911 and get someone there because they might think I'm having a nervous breakdown. People would feel uncomfortable. But now, if I'm in a funeral chapel surrounded by 80 people, memorializing someone's life, and I break down and I start crying, I'm probably going to get a pat on the back, someone's going to hand me some Kleenex, etc. There, it's a safe space to do that. It encourages the expression of feelings. The whole funeral process is a feelings-oriented activity, and the feelings need to be recognized and expressed. Again, it does not matter how they are expressed, only that they are. The funeral provides values to live by. It confirms the value of life in the presence of death. It shows respect for the dead and for the living. At my dad's wake, as you can imagine, he was not very participatory, being that he was dead. But considering everyone in the room is sharing stories, having a great time, catching up on things, etc., 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 it confirms the value of life in the presence of death. It allowed me to tell some stories about him, to explain some pictures, how he influenced me in certain ways. Shows respect for him and for the living. We come from a very strong Italian Catholic background. So there are certain ways that, quote unquote, we have to do things. And I know that I don't have to. I've been in funeral service now for almost 2 decades. But I want to pay some honor and respect to my dad and what his family would consider appropriate, even though virtually all of his family now lives in Italy. But I'm going to give him what is generally acceptable for a traditional Italian Catholic ceremony. So the American Board of Funeral Service Education gives us a summary of what funerals provide us. They provide an opportunity to receive and express love, show respect to the deceased family and friends, provides an opportunity to express grief, provides a face-to-face confrontation with death which confirms its reality, and allows emotional support through sharing. Joy expressed is joy increased, grief shared is grief diminished. It meets the needs theologically, psychologically, and socially of those who mourn, provides an opportunity for farewell through ritual, provides a dramatic representation of the fact that a life has been lived by reflecting upon memories of the deceased, helps establish emotional stability through a social support network, and establishes a socially acceptable climate for mourning. Folks, relatively short lecture this time around. We will see you next video.